I'm Philip Schulman, Director of Trump Rapid Response for the State Democratic Party of Wisconsin. In this video, we're going to talk about how Trump's policies towards China when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the trade war, really benefited them and not Wisconsinites and Americans across this country. To do that, let's rewind back to 2018. Nearly 2 years ago, Trump started an erratic and chaotic trade war with China that seemed to have no end in sight and really made people wonder what was the benefit of all this. And today we're still wondering that. During that time, farmers, manufacturers, small business owners, and families across Wisconsin really suffered. They suffered because Trump couldn't negotiate a deal. He couldn't deliver for them. Now, during this time, he claimed that the pain would be worth it, that it was only temporary, but here we are, the beginning of 2020, and we're still wondering what made it worth it. Let's look at what happened in just 2019. A record 818 dairy farms went out of business. Over 4,100 factory workers lost their jobs. Entrepreneurs and families across the state suffered because Trump didn't care about them. He didn't care about the pain they were feeling, and he was using China as a political wedge with really no end game. And we're still paying the price today. The fact is, Trump kept giving people false hope. He kept gloating on Twitter about how good manufacturing was. He came here in July and said farmers were over the hump. He refused to see reality. And that's not what we need in a president. What's more is that beyond these farmers, these manufacturers, every Wisconsin family felt the impact of this trade war. In fact, an analysis showed that because of it, they could stand to lose up to $1,000 a year. Now, let's fast forward to the middle of January, when Trump signed phase one of the China deal, just a few weeks after apparently learning about the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this deal is so wholly inadequate that farmers are still relying on the bailout money that taxpayers provided in order to try to keep them going. Now, the problem was most of the money went to Trump's best friends in big ag, large industrial producers that could really weather the storm, whereas the small farms, the medium-sized family farms that cover the state of Wisconsin, they got left out, and what they received was a drop in a bucket. Trump's kowtowing didn't stop there. He praised President Xi and the Chinese government at least 15 times for the handling of the COVID pandemic.
I spoke with President Xi, and they're working very, very hard, and I think it's going to all work out fine. I spoke with President Xi of China, and he's working very hard on this. It's a tremendous problem, but they're very capable, and they'll get to it. I think he's doing it very professionally. I know this. President Xi loves the people of China. He loves his country, and he's doing a very good job with a very, very tough situation.
He even went so far as to send them 18 tons of PPE, the exact same equipment that our frontline workers need right now and are struggling to acquire. We have doctors in Wisconsin who are buying picture frames and cutting out the plastic to make face masks. Then when it became clear that praising China wasn't politically expedient anymore, Trump did what he always does. He changed his tune and started blaming them for the global pandemic. Now, it's no secret that China hid and suppressed information that would have been vital for combating the pandemic spread. But Trump didn't want to hear it at that time, and he certainly didn't care what his intelligence community was telling him. All he wanted was a photo op and to smile for a trade deal that did nothing, to make it seem like everything was okay and ignore a problem that is well past spiraling out of control. Now, Trump likes to tell Wisconsinites and Americans that he got tough on China, but for him, that meant instituting a travel ban that still let 40,000 people into the country. And that's not to mention the 400,000 people who came in during his month of inaction. Now, the cherry on top of all of this is that Trump, as a shady businessman, never has been forthright about what he's owed, who he's owed, what dealings he's had in the past that might compromise him as the president. And so when we think about how he's been handling this pandemic, everything he's done, how he's been kowtowing to the Chinese government, it really has to make you stop and think. As someone who ran as getting tough on China, he really hasn't been tough on them. He's just been hurting Wisconsinites and Americans everywhere. His trade policy failed. It's continuing to fail. He took their word over our own intelligence community, and that's left us in a situation with over 55,000 dead Americans. We can't afford another 4 years of Donald Trump in office. We need someone who's actually going to take care of farmers, manufacturers, entrepreneurs, and families across our state. And we know that's not Donald Trump, and we know we can't afford 4 more years of him.